Morning Hope. What we just heard was the song Lift Every Voice and Sing. My students had to memorize all 3 stanzas in order to pass my class. It's often referred to as the Black National Anthem. This hymn was written as a poem by James Weldon Johnson in 1900. His younger brother, John Rosamond Johnson, composed the music for the lyrics, and Johnson's life story is fascinating. James Weldon Johnson wore many, many hats, including that of a poet, novelist, editor, lyricist, civil rights leader, newspaper editor, diplomat, lawyer, teacher, and principal, and there were a few others. Born in 1871 in Jacksonville, Florida, his father was a restaurant head waiter and his mother a school teacher. As a young child, Johnson could only attend the segregated Stanton Central Grammar School where his mother taught. The school, however, was not equipped to teach high school courses, so he was forced to travel to Atlanta, Georgia to continue his studies. He attended Atlanta University and, after graduation, returned to Jacksonville as a teacher and then principal of Stanton, where he began to demonstrate the enormous energy and social consciousness that would mark most of his adult life. He was the first Black to serve as executive secretary of the NAACP. He was appointed by President Theodore Roosevelt to serve as U.S. Consul in Venezuela. He was the first Black professor at New York University and later taught creative writing at Fisk University. He was the first Black to pass the Florida bar since Reconstruction, recounting in his autobiography entitled Along This Way that one of the examiners, not wanting to see a Black man admitted to the bar, left the room. In addition to all of this, he was well known and highly respected during the Harlem Renaissance for his poems and his literature. Johnson, the author of numerous writings including God's Trombones, a collection of Negro sermons written as poetry and based on sermons he had heard in his lifetime, and the autobiography of an ex-colored man, a melancholy fictional memoir of a light-skinned Black man who reluctantly chooses to pass for white after witnessing a brutal lynching. Johnson stated that the composition, Lift Every Voice and Sing, was the most satisfying accomplishment of his life. How did it become the Black National Anthem? Late in 1899, Johnson was invited to give a speech at a local celebration of Abraham Lincoln. Instead, he wrote a hymn for the occasion. A choir of 500 children at the segregated Stanton School first performed the song celebrating the birthday of Abraham Lincoln. Although Johnson and his brother did very little to promote the song at first, it took on a life of its own, being sung throughout the South in churches and on festive occasions until, in 1920, it became so popular that the NAACP adopted it as its rallying cry during the civil rights movement of the 1950s and the 1960s. It was viewed by many as capturing the solemn yet hopeful appeal for the liberty of Black Americans, being both a religious invocation of God and the promise of freedom. It was the best known anthem for Black America until at least the 1960s, when the civil rights demonstrators popularized the song, We Shall Overcome. Johnson, who spearheaded an anti-lynching bill that unfortunately failed, became radical afterwards in his philosophy as he called from the podium and pages of magazines for Blacks to organize and vote in strength. He continuously called for more and better education for Black citizens. Most important, however, he began to use Black poetry and song as a means to communicate to the white majority. Johnson died in 1938 when an automobile in which he was riding while vacationing with his wife, Grace Johnson, was struck by a train. His funeral in Harlem was attended by more than 2,000 mourners. Grateful for his spirit and his example, we celebrate his life each time we lift every voice and sing.